Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on Polywine, where we like to take a deep dive into stories pulled from various sources of media and have a fun time while breaking it down. I'm Jillian, and let's get into it. So I was going to start off today talking about what happened this past week at the RNC, the Republican National Convention. But right before I started getting everything ready today to air, Biden announced that he was stepping down. He is not going to run for re-election. So what does that mean? He has already endorsed Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, for his choice. Biden has. Now, the Democratic National Convention is about a month away, right? And 4 months away from the election, the presidential election. So there's not a lot of time. So that kind of leaves the Democratic Party kind of scrambling around, trying to think about who they want, who is their nomination, and all the delegates that voted for Biden, that gave them their vote. What do they do now? So for the next couple weeks, it's going to be very interesting. And if they do choose to stand behind Kamala, the Democratic Party as a whole, then who is Kamala going to offer for her VP? Right? So this is just unwinding. It's a very fluid situation. It's happening. I don't know if you've ever watched the show Veep on HBO with Julia Louis-Dreyfus from Seinfeld. A show came on years ago, but it was a great show. It's still probably one of my favorite shows of all times. The timing, the humor, everything about it, the cast was just fantastic. And now, with everything that's going on in the political world, that show stands out so much better now. And it just relates to what's happening now in the political atmosphere more than it ever did when the show was actually airing years ago. So if you haven't seen it, or even if you have seen that show, I highly recommend watching it. I might actually go back and watch some episodes. I don't remember a lot because it has been several years since the show stopped airing. But God, what a great show. And again, so funny. So funny. But I just remember some of the episodes and God, the cast was just great. But it just relates so much better now than it did then. So again, I might have to go back and watch the show. But if not, you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. But who's Kamala going to choose, right? It should be interesting. And how does everyone, the senators and some of the governors and other people in the political party, in the Democratic Party, they were actually standing behind, I should say, Joe Biden, backing him. Even like I was watching Bill Maher the other night, and Pete Buttigieg was still standing behind Joe Biden. So what do you do now? Do you pivot and go straight to Kamala? Do you get to choose your own? So it's the people that have been standing behind Joe. Do they automatically just go to Kamala because that's now who Joe's endorsing? So it should be really interesting to watch what's going to happen in the next few days, the next few weeks. And I mean, the Democratic convention that's coming up next month, it's going to be historic, right? It is going to be a historic one, so I am going to be glued to it. You know, I'm very excited to see what's going on for the next few weeks, and for someone who loves politics, I'm excited. I'm excited. This needed to happen. The writing was on the wall, and in my personal opinion, the fact that he just got so sick in this last week, when it's really important for Biden to get out there and campaign for any nominee to get out there and campaign these last few months. I mean, it's got to be a daunting job, and he's sick and he looks so frail. And, Joe Biden, thank you for everything that you have done. You have given your life to be a public servant, and I can't thank you enough. I think I was reading that he was first elected into the Senate, and was it 72? So thank you for your decades of giving yourself to the people. You are. And Obama said it himself, you are a patriot, and you are. You absolutely are. And thank you for everything you've done. But it's time for you to enjoy your retirement. Your beach home in Delaware looks beautiful. And just enjoy your retirement. You've given everything you can. And you will be a hero forever. And the fact that you stuffed down was, I think, pretty selfless. The writing was on the wall. It needed to happen. More and more people in the Democratic Party were coming out every day saying that it was time for him to step aside. So I don't think there was a choice. And just seeing him, oh my God, I don't know if you saw that clip of him going down the stairs of Air Force One as he was very sick because he has tested positive for COVID. And when he was going down the stairs of Air Force One to go to his home in Delaware to rest and isolate. Oh, he just looks so frail. And I honestly, that image, I think, was the final image that people who were still on the fence still wanted to support him because they are true to their party and that's their position. But I think that image was the last one. Like, I think it's time, in my opinion. So thank you for everything that you've done. But now that you have stepped aside, Joe, finish out strong. You've got a few months left. Thank you for passing the torch, but let the race begin. It is happening. So I would love to be a fly on the wall at the DNC right now, and on conference calls, Zoom calls, within the Democratic Party. It's gonna be a chaos. A chaos. I think an excited chaos, but definitely a chaos. And stressful chaos for sure. So that should be good. But now moving on to what happened at the Republican committee. That would happen in Milwaukee this past week. Former President Trump, after his assassination attempt, showed up right away. Let everyone know that he is ready to move on. He feels stronger than ever, and he wants to get out in the campaign and let the race begin. And he showed up on the first day and made it an appearance and did a small introduction for himself. And then sure enough, he did announce, as everyone was waiting for the Republican Party, that he did announce his VP pick. And his vice president pick is J.D. Vance of Ohio. Very conservative. And the Republican Party and those there at the convention seem to be very excited by that choice. Trump did actually ended up speaking on the final day on Thursday. He had quite a list of guests that spoke each evening throughout the 4 evenings, Monday through Thursday. And he spoke Thursday night, closed it out with the longest speech in nominee history. And wow, interesting. He broke his own record. His first record was set in 2016. I think I was reading that it was like an hour in 16 minutes. And he beat that record with this past Thursday of 93 minutes. That is a very, very long speech. That's very breathy, very wordy. My goodness. And I always find it interesting at any convention, need to be Republican or Democratic, at any convention, when the cameras pan through the floor and the stadiums and the seats and, throughout the convention, just the people that are the attendees, it's such an interesting and eclectic crowd, right? You do have those who are very serious. And then you have those who are overzealous and overly enthusiastic, right? There's a lot of sequins and a lot of pins everywhere. Like when you pan to some people and they have more pins on their shirt and sweater than, your TGI Friday server, that's some enthusiasm. Or in that movie, God, what was that movie? Oh, with Jennifer Aniston, why am I drawing a blank? It'll come to me in a moment. With Flair, it'll come to me in a moment. I can't think of the name, but great movie, old movie. So that's what happened in the RNC. The VP was named, and he is excited to get out there and run. That's former President Trump, by the way. But now it should be interesting, right? Now, in the political world, the talk around the political world is that Trump was actually, he really wanted Biden to continue to go all the way because he knew, according to the polls, now this is gossip, this is totally hearsay, but this is gossip in the political world and in the social media political, atmosphere and the ethos there, that Trump actually wanted Biden to go all the way in the end because according to the polls and according to the surge in his numbers that he's had recently, especially after following the assassination attempt on his life, which is still, it's a week later and it's still hard to believe. It really is. That he could definitely have beaten Biden easily. But now that if somebody else comes into the race, now these were the numbers before that Biden just announced just a few hours ago that he was stepping out. I think I was reading this yesterday or the day before, that he was excited because he could easily beat Biden. But the question and concern was, according to these polls of several days ago, that if someone new stepped in for Biden, could he beat them? And that was making him nervous. And that was the talk around Trump's political camp or campaign. And so now that he's stepped down, is he concerned? Now, I'm sure he's going to put out there he's not, his campaign is going to continue, and he still feels strongly that he can win. That would be my guess of probably what his camp's going to say. But I think he should be nervous. It's somebody new, somebody exciting. We don't even know who yet, really. Yes, Kamala's name is out there. Kamala Harris. Her name is out there because that is who Joe Biden is going to endorse. And I would think, I don't want to assume, but I would think that since it is a Biden-Harris ticket and the delegates have spoken, and they gave their vote to Biden, so would that automatically go to Harris because it is a Biden-Harris ticket? And since there is such a short period of time before that election, and it takes an insane amount of time, money, effort, and to get a team together to run a campaign. That's some serious work. So, I don't know what's happening right now, but I'm sure there's a lot of behind the scenes action happening, talking, but I find this exciting, and I find this is a historical moment. So no matter where you stand politically, I hope everybody's excited about it, right? And I think that I was reading, I want to say, I think it was 1950 I heard when I was listening to, I can't remember which political show I was watching this morning. I can't remember. It was like Meet the Press, or if it was This Week. I can't remember, or if it was just in the news. I don't remember who it was, if I'm confusing. But I believe they were saying it was 1950 during the last, the National Convention, where they didn't have a set nominee. And they had to choose a nominee then. And that was choosing at that convention, which is exciting. If there's more than one, if it's not just Kamala and there's some other people, that should be really exciting. And I have to say, what was the one guy who was running for the Democratic Party for president? Was it from Minnesota? Was it Dean Phillips? I bet you right now he's probably kicking himself that he ended his campaign so early. I bet you he's kicking himself. Or is he trying to get rev that campaign back up, because he's a multimillionaire and he funded most of his campaign. So I wonder if he's going to try and get back up. But I wonder what Robert Kennedy Jr. is saying right now. If he's excited, if he's concerned, because his campaign's is it independent? I think he's the independent party ticket, right? Is he independent, I think? I wonder if he's excited. So let's wait and see. Where's this going to go? I mean, this is just unfolded in a few hours. Look what's happened in the last week in political news. So what's going to happen the next month before the Democratic National Convention? And then what's going to happen in the next 4 months before the presidential election? This is historic. Get excited, everybody. You should. I can't wait for our children, our grandchildren, and grandchildren after that to read about this in their history books and talk about it in class. And we lived it. You know, we hear our parents and aunts and uncles talk about what happened during, you know, about the Kennedys and with the Nixon campaign, and now it's happening in a different version in our life. So when our children now, and when they are adults, and then they have children, and their children's generations to come of children, we lived it, and I find that utterly fascinating. So brace yourself, everyone. It's going to be a rocky ride for the next couple weeks. So Biden is out. Who is in next? So, what else can we talk about? So now that we talked a little bit of politics, let's talk about some fun news. A little side note. I don't know if you just happen to be flipping through the newspaper or some of the entertainment section, but did anybody see the picture of Sharon Stone? And there was a picture taken of her in this gorgeous flowing floral dress at this Italian film festival. And she looked absolutely stunning. This woman ages so well. She still is gorgeous. She's beautiful. She's fit. She's with it. I mean, she was always a little eccentric in her own way, and I think that's what everybody liked about her. But God, she looked amazing. Just a side note, just a little side note there, but she looked absolutely amazing. And I love seeing pictures of celebrities dressed up and done up, but I saw her and I haven't seen her out and about in a while. But God, she looks amazing, flawless. And I want to know her secret. She looks absolutely stunning. Moving on to like Ben and J-Lo. It's not looking good. Of course, they have not announced a divorce, but separation definitely looks like it's pretty clear. They've been living separately, so it appears to be in photos, and they've been doing a lot of separate activity and travel. She just celebrated her 55th birthday in the Hamptons, and she had a lovely dinner with friends, and he was nowhere to be found. So it definitely looks like a split is happening. I feel for them both. You know, they wanted to give love a try again. And you hear about these stories about people that met up when they were young and they had this just crazy love affair, and then life got in the way and they split, and life happens and they move on in relationship and have children. This happens all the time. You hear about it. And then later on in life, they reconnect and find each other. And sometimes they start dating or they marry. And it's always nice when you hear when it works out. I remember years ago, I was living in Florida, and I heard this story about this. I was talking to this lady, and she reconnected with somebody that she'd met earlier, and they ended up marrying, and they had a blended family, and they were such a cute couple, and I'll never forget them because it was a great story. But I found that also to be a rare story. You know, a lot of times when they reconnect, sometimes it just wasn't as rosy as it was the first time. And unfortunately, that's the way it seems to have been with the quick love affair and reconnection with Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck. I mean, it seemed hot and heavy, real quick, right away, and they were just loving it and living a great life, and it was moving fast. I mean, they started dating again, and, boom, divorced. So sad, unfortunate. You never want to hear of love ending, but you want everyone to be happy and move on. And, hopefully they can all give themselves a little time, space, patience, and hopefully love will come again. They're both successful, beautiful people, good-looking people, and I don't think either one of them are going to have a hard time finding love or lust quickly again. That's for sure, right? But sad story all the same. It's just sad. Poor Ben, you have really gone through it. And J-Lo, everyone loves you, and it's so sad to see you go through all these relationships and heartache. You're just so wonderful. We love you. And in other celebrity news, I've always kind of stood up for this girl, Lindsay Hubbard from Summer House over on Bravo. Of course, she has recently announced that she's pregnant. There's been a lot of celebrities in the news that have been pregnant. Margot Robbie has announced that she's pregnant, and she looks gorgeous as a pregnant lady. Somebody else is, there's been a lot of pregnancies announced recently, but Margot Robbie looks gorgeous, of course. But Lindsay Hubbard has announced that she's pregnant, and she just posted on her Instagram that her boyfriend did a gender reveal, and it was a surprise for her. Evidently, he knew the gender of the baby and she did not. And when they were vacationing over in Italy, he did a surprise for her and did a gender reveal, and they're having a girl, and good for her. I'm happy for her. I'm really happy for her. This is what she's wanted. And she was not going to get it with Carl. And I am still pissed off at the fact that he was just a douche to her. Okay? Total douche to her with the whole breakup. They needed to break up. That was a very unhealthy relationship. I've said it once. I've said it a million times. That relationship needed to end for everyone. I mean, rip that Band-Aid off, right? But the way he handled it was just gross. So nasty. And, but from what I have read, everyone's coming back to Summer House, and I'm sure we're all going to want to see what's going on. And I hope that Lindsay does announce her pregnancy on the, I don't know if they're filming right now, but I hope that she announces the baby. And in your face, Carl, because you could have gotten her pregnant, but you know what? This is right, Lindsay. This is the right thing. You know what? Sometimes we have to go through heartache for the right thing to come along. And maybe this is the right guy. When you showed up on the reunion, you were telling Andy that you were dating, and you were really, really happy, and you seem happy, and you're pregnant. You seem very happy, and I'm all for it. Congratulations. I hope the rest of your pregnancy goes well. That goes for you too, Margot Robbie. I'm so excited for you, and best wishes to you. Congratulations. And I cannot wait to watch the new season of Summer House to see how you and Carl navigate being under the same roof after a absolute just shit show of a breakup. And again, I'm interested to see how the girls are going to be when they are in that small confined space. After they turned on her, they were so supportive of her at the beginning of the breakup, and then turned on her as fast as they could on the reunion. But, Lindsay, like we've said, you've had a history with everyone on those couches. But let everybody come together in the excitement and joy of a baby, right? So there you go. But it'll be a good one. It'll be a good one. So since we've already started talking a little bit about Bravo, let's get into some Bravo news. So, New Jersey, where are we going? What are we doing? I don't know how many episodes we have left. I have to look that up. But Danielle still trying to pull it together. We're having some more bougie stuff happening. Where's it going to go with Joe? We're waiting for some more results for Joe after his test. So Marge, we've got our fingers crossed for you and Joe. Best wishes there. Dolores, you look great. Paul, you better be good to her. We had, Frank finally showed up and didn't get to go to Costa Rica. His poor puppy passed. And so he's got to come up with something else so he can propose to his long girlfriend, now fiance, Brittany. I think it's Brittany. I think they said her name is Brittany. He was going to do it in Costa Rica. That didn't happen. So we're so sorry about the dog. That dog was a cutie pie. Oh, God. Teresa. There's a slight little rift kind of happening now. Well, they're not talking about it because Jen Aiden will always say that she's ride or die for Teresa. But I think it's pretty clear that Teresa's not ride or die for anyone but herself because she's not sticking with you. She's still kind of siding with Danielle. And I think she's a little annoyed with you, Jen, that you are becoming a little bit closer with Melissa and Joe again. And you know that just grinds at her. And I think everybody is a little bit, but I don't know. Jen Fessler is really driving me crazy. And Gia, everybody likes Gia. And I've said it again, and I've said it many times, I do not want Gia to be a friend of the show. I like Gia to come in as a daughter, give her advice, kind of keep Teresa at check. She's always kind of been an old soul that way. She's like the Brianna of OC that was to Vicky, Vicky Gunvalson's daughter, Brianna. Everyone loved Brianna. Brianna was the grounding rock. She was always that old soul that gave really solid advice, when Vicky would get a little loose or a little hot-headed, you know what I meant? Like loose-tempered, that's what I mean. Brianna kind of kept her down grounded. Gia is that person to Teresa on New Jersey. And thank God somebody's got to do it because nobody else really can. So thank goodness she can, but that's where Gia is her strongest. And there has been talks, and I have read somewhere, it was a while ago, and I don't remember where it was, that there was a show coming out with some of the Bravo kids having their own spinoff show, and I read that Gia was going to be on there. Read or heard, I'm trying to remember. This was a while ago. I don't know if that actually ever happened or if it's going to happen, and should be good at that. But not on the Housewives. You're not a housewife, right? And I don't know. And then the Jackie, I don't know why. I always want to forget Jackie's name. But why is Jackie there? I don't really think she's adding anything to this season. I was okay with Jackie before. I honestly, my personal opinion, I didn't think that she really added a lot to the show. Even when she was on it several seasons ago, I don't really think she's adding anything to it now other than she's making Margaret's blood boil. But other than that, what are you doing, Jackie? I think the boys missed your husband. I think that's what it is. They wanted, was it Evan? Evan. I think they wanted him to come back. I think that's it. I think the guys were like, please bring him back. They wanted your husband back because I don't know. So Jackie and Jen Fessler. God, Jen, I'm sorry. Jen, and I always liked you. You tanked yourself this season. You really did. And I was rooting for you to come back. So I take it back. I'm sorry. I take it back. You had me and you lost me right away. And why when is everybody going to see that people that have been close with Teresa always end up, it doesn't bode well for you at the end. It really doesn't. They always get into a fight and there's always a fallout. So, I don't know. But I do want to say, speaking of Teresa, on Watch What Happens Live the other week, good old Kathy, Teresa's cousin Kathy, made an appearance. And it was great seeing you, Kathy. I always really like Kathy and Rosie. So I don't even know if they talk to Teresa now. I know that they had a falling out a while back. I don't know if they're together, friendly again, not really sure. But I wish Kathy and Rosie would make more appearances now and again. I have seen Rosie now and again make an appearance in television. I've seen her on a few things, just like in a quick little blip here and there. And I'm like, oh my God, it's Rosie. And I love Rosie. Kathy, loved you. I actually want to eat your food. I think it looks so good. But it was so great to see her on Watch What Happens Live. It was nice to have Kathy back. And fun fact, she said that she was building a home right down the street from where Melissa Gorga built her brand new home. And Melissa Gorga's new home is gorgeous. And I'm just going to say for the record, I still like Melissa and Joe. And I am going to say again that even though I am not a fan of Teresa, and I know I get a lot of flack because everybody likes Teresa. I know she is the anchor of the show. I understand. Never been a fan because I think she just does a lot of shady shit to people. And I think it's gross. And I don't like it. I think it's mean. I think it's cruel. I think it's unkind. And she just keeps doing it. And she's really bad at throwing people under the bus. I think she's really bad at stirring shit. I think she's really bad at pulling others into her drama and then making them do her dirty work. I don't think she's good at it. I don't think she's effective at it. And I do, again, I love the fact that Rachel Fuda gives it right back to Teresa. I don't know if Rachel is having the best season so far. I don't think she is. And I think it's really kind of crummy what Jen Fessler has done to Rachel Fuda, turning on her really quickly. But yeah. I'm still into it. So I'm waiting for the whole drama to go down with Louis and Teresa. It's not a question of if, it's a question of if. When, right? And it's coming. And poor Teresa, I do feel for you. I do feel for you because you've put so much into this guy, just like you did Juicy Joe. And I have a feeling he's going to humiliate you the same way Juicy Joe did. And take all your money too, that you worked so hard to get back. Like, look, again, not a fan of Teresa, but that girl has worked her way back. She has done every cameo she can. She's done, I think, Cameo, the Cameos app. She was on the Traders, right? She's done everything. She's done shows. She's done game shows. She's anything. She's writing books. She's making appearances. So the girl's got some mad hustle, right? And another guy's going to come in and take it from you, Teresa. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. So that's Jersey. Now let's go over to Dubai. I'm enjoying Dubai. I really am enjoying Dubai. Lisa, I have to tell you this last episode. Although this season I don't think is the best for you. And I am glad you have your mom there. And I hope your mom stays. But, it makes me a little nervous for you when I saw that dinner with you and your husband. And even though I think he's being really nice and does seem like your husband's trying, and it seems like you do care for each other, it doesn't seem like it's the most solid relationship right now. So I do worry for you there. And because you have three beautiful young boys that we all know are in football, and it's 5 days a week now because that's all you hear about. But they're young kids. And then you heard this story about how that makes her nervous if anything ever happened because of what happened in her childhood with her dad having a completely separate family from her and her mother. What? In Canada? What? You hear those stories and it always shocks me because I don't understand. How can people do that? How do you have the willpower to have a whole other family to lie and to put on such an act? And I mean, that's just, I don't know. Is that sociopathic? I don't know. But again, every time I hear something about that never ceases to shock me because the willpower someone must have to keep that game going. My God. But when Lisa talks about her childhood, how it ruined everything when her mom found out that her father had a separate family in Canada, and she's concerned that she always needs to have a plan, which everybody should always have a plan, that if their marriage ended, that she can take care of herself and her kids. And when you saw that, I mean, everyone says that, and everybody should have that plan. But when you saw them have a relationship, I think that I can see where she is getting a little nervous. And she's saying it out loud because she's thinking it. And that's worrisome to see. And when Chanel or Ion said that to Lisa, that when she was like, when her mom said, if anything, if her husband Rich left her, and Ion said, well, that makes me sad for you to even say that. Are you in that position? She's like, no. Even she was like, that even makes me sad hearing that. And it makes me sad too. And Ion, good on you. You had a great show, an exhibit or runway show that, I mean, you were just exhibiting your makeup line and your launch for that. And you ended up having a model runway show and it at the Burj Khalifa. And Sarah, did anybody hear that little drop shade that Sarah dropped in there? It's the Burj Khalifa's nice to have lunch, but good for you. That's the shit that irritates me with Sarah. I like her, but she's like a chameleon to me. One moment she's really nice, and the next minute she's super shady, but she wants to be everybody's friend, and then she gives this whole spirituality and love and light and this and that and who you are, and it's some shady shit. But no matter what anyone says, great on you, Ion. You made it work. You put it out there. How nice was it to see her family there showing up? Her sister came from Africa. Her brother came from Toronto. And I think she said Toronto. And to support her. And that was incredible. So congratulations. Incredible runway show. Carolyn Brooks, my goodness, you were really throwing out the shade to Ion's show, because she kept saying that, giving the credit to the other gentleman, or the name that she was saying of the other design. I think it was a designer. I don't know, but obviously the other collaborator or business partner or whatever, whomever helped Ion put on the fashion show or maybe the makeup line. I'm not sure that relationship, but Carolyn Brooks kept repeating the name of that person, like congratulating them instead of giving the congratulations to Ion or Chanel. And that was not nice. That was quite unkind. But no matter what, great show. Congratulations. Complete success. I wish you the best, Ion. So good for you. I Carolyn Stanberry. I always say how much I like Carolyn Stanberry. I really like Carolyn Stanberry. I find it interesting, her relationship as it's evolving with, oh my God, the new girl. Why am I, Aline? I like her too. And the way that Talene, I keep saying Talene, and the party that she had at her house. Let's just get right into the dinner party at Carolyn Stanberry's house. Anything else was fine, whatever. Everything else in the show, fine. Dinners, having lunch, everybody's catching up. Sarah, I want you to know, you see clips moving forward of Sarah and this German Instagram model who's gorgeous, but let's be honest, that's not going to go anywhere, right? I think. Who am I to say? But I don't think that's really going to go anywhere. But what can I say? Carolyn Brooks, I mean, she is, you would think she's starting to simmer down a little bit, but she's pissed. She is still pissed, and she seems like she's getting more amped up and more revved up every episode at Carolyn Brooks, and she's just getting pissed at everybody now. But now she's really pissed at Talene. So Carolyn Brooks has a dinner party, right? As she's having a housewarming dinner party, and everyone shows up. She, of course, naturally invites everybody in the cast, even though her and Carolyn Brooks are on odds out. She still invites Carolyn Brooks, and Carolyn Brooks, of course, brings a friend unannounced and technically uninvited. So, of course, when she walks in, Carolyn Stanberry immediately kind of calls her out and somewhat shames her and her friend, which is not nice to the friend. She's just there to enjoy a good show, right? The friend that came in with Carolyn Brooks, that you didn't tell her this was a preset party and we're just going to have to make it work. And she does. She ends up being, from what you could see the rest of the event, warming to the guests that Carolyn Brooks brought. And I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on the name of the new friend that's there. She's fantastic. I really like her. She was the one that hosted the dinner the other week. But I am enjoying this season. But so at Carolyn's party, they get into it. Talene and Carolyn Brooks get into it. And poor Sergio is like freaking out. He's like, oh my God, they're getting into it. And they're getting louder and louder and louder. So finally, Talene calls Carolyn Brooks an alcoholic. She's like, why don't you have another drink? In so many words. Did she actually say alcoholic? I don't think she actually said alcoholic. I'd actually have to go back and watch this show again to see if she actually said alcoholic, but she might have said alcoholic. But she called, she said she was drinking too much. And then, so she goes outside and to cool off with her and her husband, Rafi. And then Carolyn Brooks goes outside and says, why don't you need a drink, Talene? You're slurring your words a bit, and starts instigating the fight again, just provoking more, a little bit, poking Talene, and Talene freaks. And then Rafi was like, the husband, like, Carolyn Brooks, you're my girl, but you're really going over it now. And then Rafi gets into it. Another housewife husband stepping into it, trying to defend his wife, but it never really works out well, Rafi. So, I understand that you want to step in and protect your wife because it's going too far and you wanted to shut it down, but I think you also want a few minutes on the show so you can look good. But it rarely ever looks good. I don't know how many times in housewife history where it ends up totally backfiring on the housewife husband. And I don't know. But then, it doesn't end there. They are shouting through the house. Like, the staff that's working the party, the catering staff, was just the shock and horror on their face is quite evident. And of course, like, you see the camera guys running around trying to film everything in the house. And Sergio's like, Caroline, oh my God, what's happening? You got to make it stop. You got to make it. Like, Sergio's freaking out. And Caroline's like, sit down. Don't get involved. Like, she's getting pissed at Sergio because she's embarrassed. She's humiliated that they're ruining her dinner party and they're doing it in front of her friends. And by the way, Did anybody notice? I think that was a housewife from Chester that was out at Carolyn Stan party. I think, was it Chester? That's one of the English Real Housewives spinoffs over there, and I think it was. And they kept zooming her. Or I thought it was a lady from the one of the original Housewives from Miami at first, but I kept thinking, I'm like, I think it's Chester. I went down the Cheshire, the Real Housewives of the Cheshire Housewives during COVID, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it, but it's kind of hard to see over here. I think it's still filming and they're still airing over there in England. And if so, I need to figure out how to watch it because I watched like the first, I don't know, like several seasons. It was really good. But anyway, I think she, one of the housewives from Cheshire, was at Carolyn Stanberry's party. So anyway, because they kept zooming in on her, and I'm like, I think it's her. But so their fight, Carolyn Stanberry and Talene, it's just going all over the house. You see the camera crew. Sergio is freaking out. Carolyn Stanberry is freaking out at Sergio. Sit down. Don't get involved. And then it goes into the streets, and I'm panicking because I'm sorry, I just hit the mic there. I have always heard stories that you cannot do that in the streets of Dubai. Like, it's a no-no. You cannot have scenes like that. And the fact that they were shouting and getting into like a major verbal altercation, and you could see like producers and they seemed like really stressed. Like they were like, oh my God, we got to shut this down, because I think they were afraid like they were going to get in trouble, right? Because it could happen. I don't want anyone to get arrested. I would think that the whole crew could get arrested. So I can understand why Carolyn Stanberry is like, sit down, don't get involved. And I would want to get involved either. I mean, it was crazy. So, and then you hear Sarah say, like, you do not yell or shout in the streets of Dubai because you can get arrested for that. And that's what I've always heard. And I was panicking. So yes, it did make a good TV. I mean, it was a great final scene, great way to end the show, because you got me hanging on for next week. But I was very nervous. I was like, I don't want to say clutching my pearls, but I was kind of clutching my pearls because I'm like, oh my God, somebody's going to get arrested. Somebody's get arrested. And you can see, I think this one guy who jumped in, I'm just guessing, I don't know. He looked like he was on the producer end, but you could see the panic in his face. I've never seen that guy before, but he looked panicked, and he was just trying to like get in the car, make it stop. And yeah, wow. It was a good one. So I am excited to see where if they pick up and how quickly that fight ends on next week's episode. Yeah, I'm telling you, I was really nervous. So Dubai, what a twist. But Carolyn, what is, you have stated now why you're so mad, but it's really, really mad. What else is going on? Like, I can understand you're hurt. Your friend left you. She turned on you. And yes, that's painful. Everybody's had a friend that's done that, or a group of friends that's done that. I think in life, everybody's had somebody who's turned on them. But like, you're overly angry. I mean, if somebody wants to turn on you like that and doesn't want to be friends, then let them go. They were not your friend to begin with, right? But you are really angry. And I hope whatever it is, if it is just the stress of the business, I hope it gets better. I feel for her. I'm worried that something bad is going to happen to her. And she was on, Carolyn Brooks was on Watch What Happened Live with Andy Cohen the other day and she was on the show with Tracy from $1 Million Listing. And I'm sorry, I'm not I haven't talked about $1 Million Listing. I have watched this show before in the past. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I do like Tracy. But she is actually friends with Carolyn Stanberry. She said that she's friends, acquaintances, whatever, but she knows them. But Carolyn Brooks, she did not look so good on that. You really didn't. And you still look angry. You still sound angry. So I hope it gets better for you. But moving on. So now we've talked about Dubai. Let's just finish out the Bravo thing and tap that out with the Real Housewives of Orange County. Holy moly. We pick right back up with Alexis Bellino and Shannon. Okay. That's going down. They're still sitting down for the party. Alexis, Shannon's trying to tell everybody it's not, John Jansen. I'm happy he's out of my life. It's the lawsuit that you and your ex brought against me, right? That's what Shannon keeps telling what she's saying. But we all know I'm sure it's that. I would be so upset if I was out $300,000. Absolutely. But you can't tell me it's not upsetting to have constantly in your face your ex-boyfriend who you obviously still have emotions for, you still have feelings for, even if they're, pissed off feelings, you're angry at him. There's major discontent with that man, and there should be, even if it's those hardships, those feelings. To see his new girlfriend, and like everybody else in the show pointed out, much younger and, looks like a Barbie. She's pretty fit and perfect that way. She's very open that she's had a lot of work done, but she looks pretty perfect in many ways. So that's also got to be hard. But that fact that Alexis is right there in your face, talking constantly about your ex that you had such a turbulent relationship with, right? I mean, it was just the fights that you guys had. I mean, it was just rocky, messed up, dysfunctional relationship. And now she's talking about how wonderful it is and how he's given her this, and he's gross. Shannon, everyone will support you that he is out, because we could see the damage that relationship was doing to you over the years. It was very unhealthy. And we know your pattern of seeing you over the years defend somebody who's probably not the best to you, right, Shannon? We saw in your marriage, and we saw you do it with John. And I hope now that he's gone, and unfortunately that you said that you did hit rock bottom with this DUI. And I hope this has been a moment of reflection for you, Shannon, for you to look back and think what these bad patterns have been for you, that forced you to, do the things that make the choices that you have, and that took you to that moment in time where you got the DUI. And you even said you and John had a fight leading up to that moment. You got into the car and drove off, and you lost control and you hit a car. So that was a bad thing. So we're all happy he's gone. But again, to have Alexis there and rub it in your face, awful. And Tamara, my God, Tamara, you are so freaking mean. I love you on the show, but God, Tamara, you are so mean. Careful, Tamara. You being really mean and nasty and negative got you in trouble the first time and got you put on pause, if that's what you call it. Fired, pause, your contract wasn't renewed, whatever it is. That's what happened to you the first time. So take a breath. It could happen to you again, because you're going hard. You are going very hard for Shannon. The way you went hard for Jen last year, right? And, I think you're probably still going to go hard for Jen this year, because Jen, oh my God, Jen, you're so sweet and you're kind. And everyone wants to try, Jen, try and like you and want to, give you a little pat on the back and be like, we understand you're trying to start a new chapter in your life. And although that's really hard to have that new jump off at this point in your life with that guy that you chose, and I'm talking about Ryan, her new fiance, Jen's being evicted, right? And Jen has 5 kids. And now not only is she having a hard time, right? She said that her ex, and pardon me, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, who she's split from, he was an attorney for her family's business. And now that they are split, he's no longer working for her family, her parent, her family business. So he doesn't have the income he once had. So now everyone's affected by this split. So I guess their arrangement was that he was supposed to pay half of the rent of her new place, and she was supposed to pay the other half. Well, she can't come up with her half, and he couldn't come up with his half. So nobody's coming up with the rent or the very smallest portion of it. So now they're being evicted, right? And Gina's pissed about it because she vouched for Jen so she could get this rental. And she is a new realtor, so she's wants to have a good reputation in the real estate business, understand, and with other peers as realtors. I get that. Of course, naturally, you want to have a good reputation. And now Gina feels like it's smeared because Jen's being evicted and Gina vouched for her. I understand that. Gina, you're taking it too far. You got to be a little bit empathetic for this woman. She's being kicked out of her home with 5 kids. And Gina, we've seen you struggle after your divorce with Max. And it looks like you're going to have some moments of hard times now that you're kicking Travis out. So, and who knows if that's going to work out once he leaves. Who knows? Now that whole relationship's going to look a little bit different now that he's not living there with you. And the kids, and the way that relationship looks, that's shifting. Who knows if that's going to last? So Gina's got a lot going on now, but to freak out on Jen, I understand you're pissed and you can be pissed, but be pissed in a different way. Again, she has nowhere to go, and now she's got to move in with Ryan. And it's been in the internet. It's been on the internet. It's been on social media that there are allegations, like of this $16 million, allegations of like fraud. And these allegations, this is what I have been reading about that. So, Jen, oh God, I feel so bad for you. Tamara, and you went so hard for Jen last season. Please don't come hard for her now. Tamara, we saw you struggle when you divorced Simon. So you guys need to get behind Jen a little bit. She does have her head in the cloud. Jen, you're a grown woman. You need to be a little bit smarter. Life is tough. And we've seen many women on many of these shows on Bravo and many of the spinoffs that they had a comfortable life. They were married and something happens and their marriage splits and they have to start from scratch again. They have to start from the beginning and they have to start in a different position and different means that their lifestyle had before. And it happens all the time. It happens in everybody's life at some point. So it can be done. But you just can't kick someone while they're down. And again, Jen, I don't think you're the wisest in some of your decisions, but how can you not feel for her? She has 5 kids. And something is so fishy about Ryan. So brace yourself, Emily. I still like you. You're still stirring the shit. Tamara, but come on, everyone. When am I getting Vicky? You brought Alexis back. Now I need Vicky. And the new girl, Katie, so far so good. I'm enjoying her. But I need Vicky. Give me Vicky. Give me Vicky. I want the original OG. I need the woo woo. I need her panicked. Whoa, 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 whoa. I need all of that from Vicky. The hand gesturing. The over the top. Whoa. That's Vicky. I need a little bit of that. I need that extra sound effects to the show. And that's what Vicky brings. The bug eyes when she gets excited or shocked. All of that. That's what I want. I'm sad. Can we all have a moment of silence a moment of bereavement for the Tres Amigas. They are no more. The time has passed. But that's sad. But so if that's gone, I understand that's gone. But maybe Vicky can bring it back. Maybe she can bring life back to the Tres Amigas. But Tamra, I'm disappointed. Not shocked. This is very much in line of what you have always done before. But sad, very sad. So that's the Housewives news. All have been good. Heather's just trying to hang on and, I think she's just really she's going to put out fires this whole season, I think, Heather. She's trying to be friendly with everyone. I think she's trying to be more likable, but I think she's going to be putting out fires, and I cannot wait until Heather really reveals her true colors and shows herself who she is when she gets pissy and she has a Heather blowout. I feel like Jeff Lewis should really do a narrating or an after show of the Housewives. I think he would just be fantastic. And then, or maybe, oh God, where am I? Oh God, what is his name? He's always on Watch What Happens Live. Not Rittenhouse. It'll come to me. But he is so funny, and he's a huge Bravo fan, and he always is on Watch What Happens Live talking about his opinion. He would just be so good. So those two would be great for their own little Bravo after show and kind of go through it, talk it down, break it down. I think this would be fantastic. I like Jeff Lewis and his bitchy cattiness, and I know he's friends with Shannon Bedore, and I don't think he's the biggest fan of Heather Dubrow. So that would be a tough call. Because Heather is very sensitive, and I don't think she would be a fan of that. But I think it'd be great. I think it'd be really good, so I'd be here for it. But anyways, that's Housewives news. I want to just talk about real fast, Presumed Innocent. I love that show. We picked up this season, this past episode where the attorney left off. He had a medical emergency. We all thought that he had a heart attack. He ended up having, he had a pacemaker put in. He's okay. He's coming back. We had a court scene. I mean, it was intense. It was really intense this week with the whole court thing, court drama. Jake Gyllenhaal decided that he was going to defend himself. He was going to represent himself because his attorney became, he had a medical emergency. The female attorney said she would step in. He just said, basically vetoed that, if you will, and said, no, I'm going to represent myself, which is crazy. And so therefore he kind of put himself in a position where he trapped himself to be put on the stand. The other's attorney, the defense attorney, or excuse me, the state's attorneys, they were great. The guy who plays Tommy, he had an incredible court session. He did a great day in court. He just drilled Jake Gyllenhaal on the stand. Great cross-examination. Fantastic. But it ended up at the final scene where both the former attorney that had the medical emergency came back to represent Jake Gyllenhaal, and so did the female attorney, because she said, once that Jake Gyllenhaal said that I'm going to represent myself, she's like, fuck it, I quit. I can't believe you did, because you're going to lose. You're going to put yourself in a position where you're going to have to take the stand, and you're going to wreck your own case. And I cannot see you blow this whole court case up. I can't watch it happen, and I'm not going to be a part of it. So she quit. But they end up coming back because he takes the stand, and like I said, it was an incredible cross-examination by the guy who played Tommy. And Jake Gyllenhaal did not do well for himself. And you can see Jake Gyllenhaal's wife starting to break down. Still fishy. I find her still a little fishy. But to see that the toll that it's taken on her, that seems right? She's been too much by his side, too much defending him. So I got to tell you, I really am just totally on pins and needles, waiting for the final episode. I do believe that the finale is coming up this week. I'm excited and cannot wait to see it. So Presumed Innocent, I am loving you, and I'm so excited. I can't wait to see the end. House of Dragons. House of Dragons, you've been good. This week was a little bit more quiet. I want to talk about a scene on House of Dragons. So first of all, let's get right into the opening scene. So Christopher is now Hand of the King. Aegon, right? They parade the head of Meleys, the dragon that was slain. Rhaenys's dragon who was killed. And God, Rhaenys, R.I.P. She was just awesome. I absolutely love that actress who played Rhaenys. I loved her when she was on Nurse Jackie. She's been in a lot of other stuff. She was just fantastic. So it was just sad, such a shocker, and so sad that she's killed. But at the beginning of this episode, they're parading the head of the slain dragon Meleys through the town of King's Landing. And unbeknownst to the villagers, or the small folk, as the family calls them, that they have King Aegon's body in a wooden covered box following the head, but nobody knows that's what it is. But Christopher thought that everybody would see it as such a victory, that they won it, and what a valiant fight that they gave and won, that they slayed a dragon in their efforts and their power, right? But it was not received that way by the townspeople. They took it as a bad omen. I mean, you got to look at that they looked at dragons as gods, and people who rode them, the royal family, as gods that could be dragon tamers, right? So they saw this as a curse or a bad omen, a black omen, as someone said through the audience. So that did not go well. And then you see King Aegon, being, his medical attention, and all the Meisters pulling the Valyrian steel armor off of him because he was just burned by the fiery fight of the dragon than just, in the crash. So he's just a melted wax figure. That's what he looks like. He's just gross. He's just squishy goo, if you will. And he's just barely clinging to life. And you see that now that Aegon is completely incapacitated and incapable, and he's probably going to die, that you see the council. They're like, somebody's got to step in and be the king, step in and be the hand of the king, or not the hand of the king, and step in replacement for the king while he's, trying to recover. And Alicent's like, I can do it. I was queen when my husband was not well, and I ran this council, and I can do it again. I have the experience, I have the knowledge, and I can do it, right? And we've all worked together. And slowly, one by one, they vote against her and go to Aemon, right? And you see Aemon immediately pick that ball up and go right into giving off demands and commands and taking his power. And it was a natural fit. And the fact that when, oh my God, all I can ever think of is like calling him the spider, but the guy with the cane and the club foot. And please, I can't think of his name just slipped my mind for a second. But when he turned to Sir Christopher, he's like, what do you think? Do you think your vote for Alicent or Aemon? And he said it should be Aemon. When everyone voted against Alicent, and that scene where of just defeat, and where everything was just stripped from her. And as a woman, and in positions of power and jobs and stuff like that, in career, and the power play between men and women, and just that scene was so powerful. How she just and there's nothing she could do. But everything in that instant was just gone. Just gone. And how everyone turned on her. And it was so sad. And I said powerful. And I'm sure in that time frame and in history happens everywhere. I mean, like I said, look at Rhaenys, the queen that never was, right? Her power was just constant. Her position was just constantly passed over her. And I just thought that was such a good scene. And so now Aemon's got it. He's got the power. And she kept telling everyone, you're giving this to an impulsive young man. And you just don't know what he's going to do. So it's going to be, this week's episode is going to be really good. The tension is definitely building for there to be a great epic battle scene on the battlefield, in the air amongst the dragons. The Housers are coming together. Daemon, I am sick of your dream sequences and how the witch is getting into you. Of course, him trying to fight for power. I want to know, does he have like syphilis or something like that, and it's starting to affect his brain? Is that what's happening here, or is the witch, the Rivers witch, is she just totally messing with him? Although he is just making Daemon one bad decision after another, sending his guy to go do your worst to the villagers. What a moron. What an absolute moron. Of course, that's going to come back on Rhaenyra. But it's been such a good season so far, but I am glued trying to find out I'm waiting. I'm so excited waiting for this new battle scene. The battle scene amongst the dragons the other week was so good. I actually happened to watch it a few times. And it gets better each time. It really was. And sometimes when you have the scenes of the dragon, it can look a little fake, but there was a little bit of fakeness, but it just was so good. And I can't wait to see some more. But I don't know, so kind of if you want more of the time frames, that historic stuff, I have also been watching on Netflix the show Vikings Valhalla. I really like it. There is a lot of historical accuracy to it. Some of the characters are real historical people. But I'm sure there's so much artistic liberty, but it's so good. And the battle scenes in that show are great. And it's Netflix, so they have the Netflix money. And oh my God, the guy who plays Lightleaf and the guy who plays Harold Harrelson, true historical figures. They are Norwegian figures. And Leif is from Greenland, actually. But oh my God, two gorgeous men. And King Canute, I like him too. That's a good looking guy. The girl who plays Fretis, she is so tall, stunning, absolutely stunning. So to hear I like the historical base to the show. I like hearing the myth, the Norse mythology behind it. I find that fascinating. I really like that. I love the show. Since talking about it, I've had a few friends that have started watching it. They've hit me up on by text or on social media and let me know that they really like it and they're in. And it's the third season now. There's been a long hiatus. I started watching it, I think, at the end of COVID, the first season, and there was a really long break and between each episode, lot of battle scenes. So I can't even imagine how long that takes to film it. But it's such a good show. I really like it. I tell everyone all the time how much I love history. I love historical shows. I love historical documentaries. It's really good. So if you have a chance, and if you like stuff like that, if you like Game of Thrones, House of Dragons, if you like the show back in the day, Black Sails and Knights Templar, all those kinds of shows like that, then you will probably like Vikings Valhalla. There is a show Vikings, but this is Vikings Valhalla. And they get a little bit more into, like I said, the mythology and a lot of the pagan belief and stuff like that. And it's interesting. It's very, very interesting about that. But the battle scenes, awesome. And like I said, it's Netflix, so they don't spare any money on that stuff. But I like it. There's another show that a lot of people have been telling me that I have to watch. It's really good. Kind of has like a cult-like following, and that's The Boys. I haven't watched yet. There's another season. I think they just got picked up for a new season. But I will watch it. I haven't started watching it yet. I will start watching it soon. And I have to say, for this summer, there's been a lot of really good shows that have been coming out throughout the summer. And I like that. Good shows, good movies. Before in the summer, everything was on hiatus. You would have some large movies that would come to the theaters, but that was kind of out. So now that there's just so many streaming services and so many different channels and networks, there's just such a variety, and it's great that there's a lot of variety out there, because not everybody's able, to take time off throughout the summer and to have something for everyone is nice. I guess is what I'm trying to say. So there's a little bit of something for everyone during the summer as well. Right? And for those binge watchers or the insomniacs like myself, you're not repeat watching the same thing over and over again. But if there's something that you love to watch, or a series, documentary, docu-series, if there's something that you really like and you think, Jillian, you're going to love it, you've got to talk about it on Polywine, please reach out to me. You can reach me on Instagram on Polywine Time. You can find me on YouTube. You can hear, and you can listen to Polywine on any surface or any streaming service that you get your podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. Let's get ready for the Olympics. Let's get ready at the Olympics. Very exciting. A quick side note, the mayor of Paris finally did go swimming in the River Seine. Right? It was highly contaminated. Everybody's contesting about it. We talked about this a few weeks ago. There's a large controversy that people were protesting that they were going to do stuff and contaminate or defecate in the River Seine. That didn't happen. But the mayor did eventually go swimming. The President Macron did not yet, from what I understand, but the mayor did. And she said it was fine, it was clean, but let's just give that a couple days to a week and see if she gets any sicknesses, right? If she gets sick of any kind. But let's get excited. The Olympics start next week. So let's go. Let's put it on the world stage. I hope they have a fantastic opening ceremony. I'll definitely be watching it. But again, if there's anything that you want us to hear about, anything that you want us to talk about, visit us on Polywine Time on Instagram, or find us on any streaming service that you can watch Polywine. Or listen to us too. Thank you so much for joining us today on Polywine. I hope you have a great time, and I'll catch you soon. Have a great day. Thanks again. Bye.